This is Popular Front, a podcast focused on the niche details of modern warfare and underreported conflict with me, Sheikh Hanrahan. Today we're speaking to Zeina Dajani. She was on the ground for the Sheikh Jarrah protests. If you remember, these are basically the protests that sort of sparked the recent round of fighting between Israel and Palestine. We will be covering this from all different directions, but we are going to begin with what I think the media has quite quickly forgotten, that a lot of this round of fighting did start with people getting evicted from their homes in Sheikh Jarrah in East Jerusalem. If you like what we're doing, please do consider supporting us at patreon.com/popularfront. You were on the ground in the Sheikh Jarrah neighbourhood. The evictions happened, like we all saw that happening, and then it kind of very quickly seemed to just drop out of the news. Maybe you can just kind of take us back and explain exactly what happened there, because this, in my opinion, it looks to be what sparked the whole recent wave of fighting. So maybe if you can just take us back, explain, what actually happened.
Yeah, I mean, so at least from my point of view, because I'm, like I said, not really an active researcher. I'm just a Palestinian who's from Jerusalem, whose family, actually has. I grew up in Sheikh Jarrah and stuff like that, and these evictions aren't new. Basically, part of the whole Israel Zionist standpoint is that Jerusalem and all of Palestine should be Jewish, and in order to do that, they need to get rid of Palestinians who live there. And so, I would say that last year, the Israeli courts ruled to evict 12 Palestinian families and to give their property to Israeli settlers, which would put about almost 500 Palestinians, out of their homes. And not only that, but they also would be forced to pay to cover for the illegal settlers' expenses to move into their own homes. And it's pretty insane when you think about it.
Wait. So sorry. So the Israeli court said, right, you have to leave your home, and you also now have to help the people that are going to move in there. Right. And what reason? Why did they say that? Like, what reason do they give for that?
They say because they're like, I don't really know, actually. I think it's like they use different reasons. But in this particular one, I imagine it has something to do with the legal expenses because of the court cases. That's what they're saying. But that doesn't make any sense. Like, there's not a lot of, they don't really care for real reasons. And this isn't new. So a lot of the, what part of another thing that they do is they demolish a lot of homes, Palestinian homes in Jerusalem. And they tell the families, either we demolish it for you and you pay for the demolition, or you demolish it yourself. So this isn't a new, idea or a new way of dealing with the situation. It's really humiliating.
Yeah, no, deeply. I mean, we saw that video where there's like some, the Israeli settler guy from like Brooklyn, and he's like, I have to steal your house. Like, maybe just explain briefly, like, what are these settlers? Why do they want to live in the small sliver that, the Palestinians have left?
Yeah, so it's really ridiculous. So there was a longer interview with him, and I don't know what, they're really very brainwashed. And they come to think that basically the idea is that what he's basically trying to say is that if it wasn't me, if I'm not going to steal it, there's another Jew ready to come to take it. Like, it's not, I'm not alone. There's a whole system in place that is making this happen. And what they do is they bring in settlers, and I don't know what system it is. Is it a lottery? Is it like, I have no idea. But basically they say, they bring in settlers, and the way that they stay in the situation, because it's not exactly like the greatest situation. Yes, they probably get a free house and all that, but as you can tell, we try to make it as hard for them as possible to stay there. They truly believe that they're chosen to make sure that Jerusalem goes back to the Jews, as they think it, the way that they think about it. Not that they don't even think the Palestinians were ever there. They think that they're taking their right back, that this is theirs, and they have to make sure that the Palestinians stay out of it, because this is the Zionist regime, right? Like, it's the whole idea is that like all of Palestine is for Jews, and they're doing their part to make sure that is the case. So they'll take whatever it is, they'll do whatever they can to make sure that they help the Zionist, ideology. whether they're
Right.
coming from, whether they have any ties. Like these are people who may have never even come to the country. You know what I mean? These are people like, this is the part that's so like it's so obvious. You know, this dude, he's actually like, I looked at him, he's actually from like Long Island. You know, we were very close. Brooklyn was close. And
Yeah.
he's, you know, and he has no ties to this place, nothing, you know, and he's coming to get rid of people who've been here for hundreds of years. This is our land. We're not fighting to take it. We're fighting to keep it. That's the difference, you know? And for them, it's like, no, this is, you know, we have to make sure that we make sure that the Palestinians don't live here, whatever it takes.
Right, and this is land within the, I mean, I know obviously the borders are kind of arbitrary and decided after everything went haywire, but this land is actually within the borders of what internationally is meant to be what's left for the Palestinians, right?
Yeah, exactly. Everything they're doing, everything that's happening in Sheikh Jarrah is so illegal. It's not even like, they're not even working within their already existing, like you said, you know, what they perceive to be Israeli, territory, right? They're moving in, and they have been. This isn't new, right? The settlements, the legal settlements, have been growing all over the country, and especially in Jerusalem and the West, even the West Bank, but everywhere. And this is part of it. This is like they slowly encroaching on land that is meant to be for Palestinians. Palestinians who live there. This is, post the Nakba, post 1967 war, post all of that. And it's all illegal. Even the fact that how it stands now, the fact that they don't let into that neighborhood in that particular area, they don't let Palestinians to come and go. They let settlers do whatever they want. They can just walk in with their baby, take a stroller ride, like a bike ride, have food delivered, do whatever they want. But the people who actually live there, the land who's theirs, they're blocked. Like the families who live in Sheikh Jarrah are afraid to leave their homes to, let's say, go shopping, get some food, do whatever, because there is a chance that they will not be allowed to get back in. It's that like kind of treatment.
And what reason? Obviously, the court said, okay, these 12 families have to leave. What reason did they give to justify this?
So the reason is very, I don't even know how to call it, but it's very weak. They basically say that that before, like, okay, so the way that these people have the Palestinians came to live in the Sheikh Jarrah is that there was an agreement between Jordan and the UN, the UNRWA, UNRWA, in 1956 that these families were actually refugees from 1948, and under this agreement with Jordan, when it was still ruling Jerusalem, these families were given this land, and they were told that you can build on it, and in 3 years you'd receive ownership titles. But that never happened because Israel conquered, started occupying East Jerusalem before these titles became true. And so that's how they ended up there. So that's how these families ended up in that area. It's Palestinian land, but it's like how they came to build their homes, grow their family, and own it, basically. And so basically the Israeli courts have, this, actually, let's go back a little more. There's a settler, Zionist settler organization that's behind a lot of these let's call them home, like evictions, and to displace these Palestinian families with settlers. And they basically, and their whole point is they're coming up with paperwork, not real paperwork. Many people say, that these land used to belong to Jews before 1948, like a long time ago, under I think maybe the Ottoman. I'm not 100% sure, but basically they're trying to claim the land to be for Jews before the Palestinians lived there. And we don't like this paperwork is not no one's seen it. It's such a weak reason that people are saying this we shouldn't even talk about the reasoning, because it doesn't matter. They could come up with anything they wanted and this would still be the case. There's there doesn't need to be a reason.
Retroactively coming up with a reason.
Yes, exactly. And it's always the case. They don't really care for a reason, like the main reason is that this land belongs to the Jews and only Jews. It's ethnic cleansing. That's all that it is. They don't want to call it that, but that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, I've actually spoken to settlers before, and I did definitely also get that impression of this is our land, so it doesn't matter. It's like, well, people already live here. It's like, no, it's ours. We're taking it. You know, it's I don't know. I could never get my head around that kind of idea. What was it like growing up in Sheikh Jarrah for you?
So my family, so I actually, I grew up in Beit Hanina, but my family had a lot of family in Sheikh Jarrah. And
Okay.
like, for example, like, and my family originally is from Sheikh Jarrah. And so it's always been home. Like, you know, I go to cousin's house there, went to like a camp there. Like it's, as a teenager, spent a lot of time there. It's a really beautiful neighborhood, and it's always been considered like one of the old, like they're one of the ones that's been left, you know,
Mm.
like one of the old neighborhoods that is still Palestinian. Everything else like Beit Hanina and a lot of other places, they're sort of considered more of on the outskirts, you know, like just been built out over the years as more Palestinians have been pushed out of the city center. They've had to, you know, build up outside of it. And so Sheikh Jarrah is just special in that way. It's considered to be like, you know, if we lose it, it connects a lot of the neighborhoods. It's our connection to the old city as well. It's very close. It's right outside the old city of Jerusalem. And so it's history, you know, at the end of the day, it's our history. It's the Palestinian history, same as the old city is. And that's the feeling that you get when you're there. The houses are really old. You know, yeah, it's just home.
So this round of evictions, so these 12 families, maybe just talk us through like what actually happened. How did that go? Because I know there was like immediate clashes. I saw, you know, Israeli soldiers were there. Like how did that all unfold?
Yeah, so the orders came out, and I think the court case, which has been actually I think postponed till I think it's coming out again soon.
Right.
But basically, what happened is the way that I got involved is that there's these two siblings on the ground, Muhammad and Munal Kurd. They're the house that's you know, where we first meet the settler Jacob, who talks about, you know, it's where the courts ruled to give half the house, like where he lives in the half of their house, which happened I think about 8 years ago. That was for originally when their house was split, and so now they're coming out for the rest of their house. And so these two siblings, they're like really young, and they created a movement, you know, the Save Sheikh Jarrah movement. And they were basically calling on not the international community, even they were calling on just all Palestinians, you know, like, look, you know, you need to come, we need to stand up together. We're here. We need to wake up, you know. And that's what happened. You know, they really like inspired a lot of like the movement is young. I go there and I'm like, you know, in my 30s and I feel old. You know, like it's young people. And it's basically like we've been living under oppression and occupation, and we've been seeing this ethnic cleansing happening, and there hasn't been something that unites us, something to fight for, especially in Jerusalem. It's just all over the place. Like shit is happening. Sorry, like, you know, bad things are it's like everywhere. It's spread out. Everyone's dealing with their own sense of like life under occupation is bad. But what happened in Sheikh Jarrah, I feel like gave us something to unite and stand up for and be like, no, enough is enough. Like enough. You're treating us like beyond bad. And now you're like literally stealing our homes and play like without even caring. Like there's no one coming to save us. We have to save ourselves, you know? And I think Palestinians tend to have this mentality, but right now it's just been like, you know, the country doesn't have a lot of, you know, every country now is, I feel like, dealing with their own thing with COVID and like whatnot. And so I think this is sort of like, we're like, okay, yeah, enough is enough. And these two young people did it, like their online campaign has been so strong. Muhammad does like in English and Muna does in Arabic. And they're really inspirational. And they were just like, listen, Sheikh Jarrah this is our home, but this is also your home. This is you next. So let's stand up together before it's you next. Let's make sure it's not us now, you know? And I think that really brought in a lot of people to the ground. So we used to go and they were very peaceful. Like we would go chant, you know, just show our presence, because the settlers were just coming and going, and they're really aggressive and kind of scary because they're all armed. You know, we're not. And I'm, you know,
The settlers walk around armed, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, there's been multiple situations where settlers have taken out their guns and started shooting indiscriminately. And not just particularly in Sheikh Jarrah, but also in Beit Hanina, like 5 minutes away from my home. Like just in general, the settlers have become way more aggressive and just don't care. They don't feel like they're going to be held accountable, which they're not. So if they do shoot someone, it doesn't matter. No one's going to come after them. So we're doing this, and so we are going there and protesting and gathering, and Israelis really don't like that. They want to keep us like oppressed, right? They don't want us to feel like we can do that we can stand up to what's happening. And so the moment things start to get a little bit out of hand, we put up the Palestinian flag, which we're not allowed to do. Then they basically attack. So what they do is they use extreme measures of, really large horses, stun grenade, like noise bombs, rubber bullets to disperse the crowds and to scare us so that we don't come back. They arrest some people. They take our photos so that they can arrest us later for no reason. And it used to happen almost at clockwork, give it a couple hours around 9:00, because it used to be Ramadan, which, a month of fasting for the Muslim community, and like the holy month. And so we used to gather around that time period. We'd break the fast, and then that would lead into chanting and, just our presence there. And as soon as that started, the Israeli military would intervene and disperse us and scare us, and injure us. And it just happened every night. And I think the more it happened, the more people started to wake up to it happening. The more people were like a friend of mine went, and I used to see like his stuff on Instagram. I'd be like, okay, I see people are going, I should go. I'd get like this and I started going, and my friends would be like, oh, she's going. Like, we need to show up too. You know what I mean? Like, it just was this organic, social media led activism, I would say.
Yeah, and just for listeners to understand, this is normal protests. This isn't armed clashes. This isn't barricade building. These are just normal protests. I've seen them myself in East Jerusalem, and the same thing happened, like tear gas everywhere immediately. No one was armed. No one was doing anything. And these are all like peaceful protests, right? But eventually, the El Kurdis actually got evicted from their homes, right? Or they got arrested. I saw some footage.
So they're still in the part that they still are in. You know what I mean? Like I told you how it was. The first part. So they had their house, and then they came and they built the second part of their house. Right. As soon as they finished building it, that's when the Israeli courts came in and said, "Oh, you don't have a permit." This is 8 years ago. You don't have a permit to build in the second half. You don't have a permit to build this. So we're taking it away from you. And their logic is like, okay, if we are not allowed to build this house, how is it that a settler from the U.S. is allowed to live in it? The logic is just very weak. There isn't any. So then they came back in 2020 and said, okay, now we're coming back to take the rest of your house. And that hasn't happened yet. It's in the process. That's what the court cases are about now. So they keep delaying the court case. It was supposed to happen a month ago. And, a lot of us are saying, it'll be a miracle or some kind of international pressure if basically the Zionist court rules against a Zionist agenda, right? Like the courts are not in our favor. We're fighting in a court that is not for us. It's not a fair court. We're fighting under an Israeli court system that was made to make sure that we stay oppressed and occupied and under ethnic cleansing. You know what I mean? Like, so that's also another big problem. So right now the court cases are still happening. I think they were postponed until the end of this month or like soon. So until then, the Kurds are still in their house. They've gotten arrested. Like Mohammed has gotten arrested, but they've let him out. Other people have gotten arrested in the neighborhood as well. But the eviction itself hasn't happened yet for the second half of the house.
God, yeah, a lot going on. And am I right in saying these Sheikh Jarrah protests basically sparked others, right? That started going on in East Jerusalem. What happened then? Because there was some disturbance around Al-Aqsa before the rockets started firing.
Yeah. So actually, about before even the Sheikh Jarrah momentum started happening, there was in Al-Aqsa the military came in, or the Israeli government, they issued like these metal barriers around Al-Aqsa. They started getting involved with the Aqsa, you know, like started implementing things that they have no right business doing. And so that started some clashes. Like, no, that's sorry, let's erase that one. That started basically protests between the people who were going to stop it from happening, which ended up in these they became violent, basically, not between the Palestinians, but because anytime the Israeli military gets involved, they start attacking the people who are there, no matter what you're doing, you know, whether you come with the intent of being peaceful, and usually it's peacefulness, because we don't have a military, we don't have arms, we don't have anything, you know, we just have we have us, you know, and what we believe is you know, what we are owed, which is, you know, the right to go to prayer if we want to, the right to live freely, the right to be in our own homes, right? The right to live, basically. And so that's when that's first started to be like a bit of an issue, like a bit of a, I'd say the spark started, you know, there was a bit of a spark happening around Al-Aqsa. And then the Sheikh Jarrah started getting bigger. So you still have these two, and you still have those both happening around the same time, Sheikh Jarrah getting a little bit bigger. And then the Israeli forces basically go into Al-Aqsa, and they attack people who are worshiping, who are praying during the last few days of Ramadan, and that just blows everything up. You know, that's when, you know, Hamas got involved, and that's when we were saying, like, we can't even pray in peace.
There's footage of like I think they're IDF border guards or something, kind of just, you know, running in there, dragging people out, like whilst actually in the mosque. I think they said, oh, people were throwing rocks or something like that, and then you know, it happened how it happened. There's what I found really interesting, not to, you know, not to at all excuse Hamas or anything. I'm certainly not saying Hamas is good or whatever, but what I found very interesting in the media is how the Sheikh Jarrah evictions and this situation in Al-Aqsa was kind of very quickly dropped as soon as Hamas started firing the rockets. I mean, do you think that, you know, it's all part of the same thing? It looks to me like it started with Sheikh Jarrah.
No, it's all, to be honest, nothing. Like, that's the thing, though. I something we always have to remember about Palestine is that this isn't just starting. This has been going on for
right, but this round,
years.
You know what I mean?
But this round has been, it's all tied together. Like, the Palestinians we're fed up, you know, and like I said earlier, it's like we've kind of had enough all over. Whether it's Sheikh Jarrah, whether it's Old City, whether it's being able to pray in Al-Aqsa, whether it's living in Gaza under a, you know, literally an open air prison where you have nowhere to hide, nowhere to go without, you know, whether it's all over, whether you're living inside as a Palestinian with an Israeli citizenship, being treated as a second-class citizen, literally with laws that are, you know, just for Jews, just for, you know, Palestinians. All over, I think there's this feeling of enough is enough, you know. And I think what Sheikh Jarrah did is it sparked it, you know. I think it sort of the momentum started there and moved to Al-Aqsa. And I think what happened with Gaza is that the problem, as you might say, is that once that starts happening, when Hamas gets involved, which is know why it's happening, it does move the spotlight. Yeah. But the biggest problem is it's okay for the spotlight to be on Gaza because it should also be there. We should never forget what's happening there. The problem is that when a ceasefire, and I say that within quotation marks, when a ceasefire is called, it's almost like that's it. We're all back to whatever this normal, okay life is, under occupation, still being ethnically cleansed, still treated like second-class citizens. No, that's just like we've moved on. You know what I mean? Because a ceasefire was called. But in reality, the ceasefire was a farce, you know? Like, nothing changed. Yes, Hamas stopped firing rockets, but the same day, what happened? The Israeli military went into Al-Aqsa and started throwing gas bombs and started attacking people. Same day. The ink hadn't even dried on said ceasefire, you know? Like, there's no, like, what reason does Israel have for doing that? It doesn't, it's because it knows when a ceasefire is called internationally, people stop looking. They move on. And the point now is that we shouldn't move on. More than ever, nobody should move on, because while people think that this is over, that's when things get bad. That's when people will get evicted. That's when more of Jerusalem will be ethnically cleansed. That's when more laws will be passed as more Israeli laws targeting Palestinians will pass. You know what I'm saying? Like that's when they use this sort of ceasefire to do all the things they want to do when the international community is not looking as intensely.
Yeah. Benjamin Netanyahu's interest in this situation as well. I mean, just as an outside observer, it seems to me like he kind of needed this little conflict, horrific conflict, to kind of distract from his various mounting legal issues. What do you think about that? Do you think that's accurate or not?
Yeah, I mean, always. He benefits whenever something like this happens. He was almost out the door. You know what I mean? Like he was like, he's going to do anything to stay in power. Because the moment he's not, he has all these legal court cases against him, right? And the only way that he's avoiding them or being able to get past them is by keeping himself in power. And this helps, but I think there's been a bit more awareness about that as well. Like I've seen that actually being talked about, that like, okay, what does Netanyahu benefit? Because he does. And it's important to pay attention to that. And it will be clear, and it'll be more clear as time goes on.
Yeah, I think so. What's the situation now then in Sheikh Jarrah? What's going on there?
So right now it's basically the street where all the houses are on has become like a military, like under military rule, like in a way. Basically they have barricades, like these big stone, like almost like how you'd see the checkpoints around, I don't know, for people, but basically it's like these like previously you used to be able to just walk down, it's a normal road, right? Now they just have barricades everywhere with soldiers on every entrance. And the way it works is that if you're a settler, you can go in and out as you please. If you're not, you have to show that you live there. And a lot of them, they say that even though they show they live there and they go in, within 20 minutes, like a police or a soldier will come and ask them if they live here and show them proof. So it's basically like it's under siege, like, you know what I mean? Like it's like this area that no one's allowed to go into, and so we can't. So it's become very difficult for us to go and support what's and be. So we stand outside if there's any kind of event, and to them, it's better if we stand outside. They can use more military force against us outside. Like it's they don't have to worry about any settler getting hurt or a small closed area. They can shoot as many tear gas as they want or disperse the crowd as far as they can. And so they basically made it like military control over that road, and they want to isolate the families, right? And that's something that's it's illegal. They have no right to do that under international law. It's not under their jurisdiction. But it doesn't matter to them.
Do you think the protests are going to continue there now that there's a ceasefire? Are everybody kind of burnt out, or is this going to continue?
I think, the hope is that it continues, and I think it will. I think it depends. I think people are tired, and I think the question now a lot of people are asking is, how do we make sure not everybody burns out at the same time? You know what I mean? How do we keep it going? And I think a big part of it is also international community. They can't burn out. The international, need to fight for us as well, especially for me, at least in the US, in the UK, in places that have, not only supported but also give huge financial, especially in the US, aid to Israel, aid to the occupation, aid to the ethnic cleansing. It's all, and military aid as well, and so military weapons. And so I think for me is that the pressure needs to stay on inside and outside. And here, even though we're not allowed in the neighborhood, people still try to get in. The Kurd family tries to have like events. They're maybe not going to be as explosive, but that depends. I think we've yet to know. I think it's still early. I think potentially when the court makes its, ruling, I think that's gonna also, probably start another wave of people.
And when is that?
They keep postponing it,
Right.
so I'm not 100% sure. But like, for example, on Saturday they had a protest that was outside, and it wasn't as big, and it kind of dispersed quickly, but people still showed up. Same on Friday. There's another protest happening in front of the courts on Wednesday. So as long as these events are happening, I think people will go. And I think it's up to us here on the ground and outside who care about this issue, who care for Palestinians and their freedom. It's up to us. We choose whether or not, this keeps, we keep fighting and to keep eyes on what's happening.
Yeah. Okay, Zeina. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap this one up?
I think it's just really important that people understand, to me, that this isn't just now, and this won't stop. This won't stop even if the ruling goes for the families in Sheikh Jarrah. There's a system in place in the country that is there to make sure Palestinians no longer exist here. To make sure we are erased from history, to make sure we are not part of the future. And the Israeli government will do anything they can to make sure that happens. The Zionist agenda is very, very strong, and we are just to them, something that they need to get out of the way, and they will do anything. And I think it's important to remember that this has happening for 73 years, and this will continue to happen. And so even if this happens, people need to continue to pay attention and fight, because as long as we are here and as long as things don't change, we need people to fight for Palestine. We need to fight for Palestine to continue to exist. I think it's just important that this isn't just a moment. This isn't just an incident, This doesn't come out of nowhere. But yeah, so I just need to make sure that that's like clear, that this isn't just a moment and will go away.
Yeah.
This is a system of oppression that we live under.
Good luck out there. And thank you very much for speaking to us.
Of course. Thank you.
That was Zeina Dajani speaking about the Sheikh Jarrah evictions, the spark that kind of kicked off the recent round of fighting between Israel and Palestine. Remember, like I said at the start, we are going to be covering this from all different directions. We're going to be speaking to Israelis. We're going to be speaking to people living in Gaza. We've been a little bit slow, I guess, doing the coverage, but it was mostly because everybody we needed to speak to was extremely busy with other bigger media organizations, and I wanted to talk to people on the ground. Also, in Gaza, a place like that, people didn't have electric, but yeah, it's all coming, don't worry. And if you listen to that episode and be like, no, I don't agree with that, I understand this is a very divisive conflict, but at the end of the day, we're reporting from people that were on the ground, and we're going to hear from different sides, so yeah, relax. But yeah, Sheikh Jarrah, the spark that kind of started the conflict. If you like what we're doing here at Popular Front, please do consider supporting us on the Patreon for bonus content. We are grassroots, 100% independent. That is the only way we really keep going, the Patreon. Go to patreon.com/popularfront. You'll see a lot there, bonus episodes, narrated articles, access to the community Discord, merchandise, discount codes, a whole series on there called Too Cool for J School, an educational thing. There's so much there. patreon.com/popularfront. Or you can buy our merchandise. Just go to popularfront.shop. We have t-shirts there, hoodies, bags, all sorts. It's not some Teespring bullshit either. It's all proper, decent designs, well-made stuff. Go and check it out, popularfront.shop. If you want, you can buy my book, which is currently out now. If you've bought it already, thank you very much. It's doing way better than I expected. Really do appreciate people buying that and reading it and dropping the reviews. Yeah, you can buy my book. Just search Sheikh Hanrahan Gargoyle in Amazon, or just go to gargoylebook.com. You'll see links. This episode was sponsored by Oracle Coffee Shop in Portland, Oregon, USA. They're an independent coffee business selling only fair trade products. See them at 3875 Southwest Bond Avenue 97239. The episode was also sponsored by Grindcore House, a pair of independent coffee shops in Philadelphia, USA, one in South, one in West. You can find them on social media at Grindcore House. The episode is also sponsored by Propagandopolis, an outlet selling and writing about historical conflict propaganda from all around the world. Buy prints at propagandopolis.com. Use promo code POPULARFRONT10 for 10% off. If you want to follow us, look for us on social media. Instagram, it's at popular.front. youtube.com/popularfront. We're almost at 100,000 subscribers on the YouTube, so thanks very much to everybody. It's been taking, it took a while to get traction there for our documentaries and what have you, but now it's starting to move, despite all the fuckery and censorship and everything that YouTube does to us. But yeah, youtube.com/popularfront. Twitter, at popularfrontco. Go to the website, www.popularfront.co. If you want to follow me, it's at Jake_Hanrahan, HANRAHAN. Music in this episode, the intro was by Home and the outro was by Sam Black. Check out his music at samblackpf.com. So samblackpopularfront.com. The sound mixing was done by Thomas Griffin at Splicing Block. Definitely check them out. Just search for Splicing Block podcast. Sorry. Thank you very much to the higher tier Patreons. Without you, this would not be possible. They are Lupita Valens, Bradley Davies, Laura, X, A. Nicole, Manny, Travis Lieberman, Cherry, Ben Marshall, Dallas Don, LD50 Seattle, MJ, K Glitter Vulcan, Meredith Waters, Bethany Swoveland, C. O'Donnell, Adam H, Larson 8669, Karante, Bjorn Kirsten, Diamond Steen, Jacob, Michael O'Connor, Zach Packard, Todd Cravens, Alexander, Nicholas Butter, Ron Swanson, JD, Jav, Ian Froese, James Cully, Michael Akakan, Ethan Fitzmadrid, Ed Coulthard, Johnny LaFleur, Clayton Taylor, Mike Barone, Ben, Liam Williams, Chris Cusimano, Degenerate Zero Alpha, Jojo Arani, DR, Trey Nance, Amy R, Rubicon, Frank Austin, Amelia Me, Noah Ease, Christina Rivetti, Freya Northman, Ali Hunter, Moody Al Rashid, Bill Wilson, Andrew Hurley, Vida Provost, Brian McLaughlin, Tom Lochrin, Young Wasabi, Tony Bin, Adam Bergsnyder, JL, Sebastian from the Discord, Stephen Davila, Anthony Kabarak, Dan Dunham, Fletcher Tate, Chad Walker, Diana Gorvanek, Lawrence Abrahams, Peter McCormick, Emily Molly, Axel Iverson, Christopher Martin, Ryan Sandercock, and Maurice Zumbel. Thank you all very much for keeping this floating, to be honest. Thanks so much.